Okay, we're live. Let's see who's there. It is a couple minutes before 8. I said 8 o'clock would be it. And I'm here. I'm going to see if I could get on the stream so I could see your comments. Let's see what we got. All right, let's see. Anybody there? Hey, Mr. Faust, how you doing? Good evening. I think it's about 2 or 3 minutes before 8. I was just watching a couple chainsaw videos. It's about 8 o'clock. I'm up in my family room, which is a converted porch. It's all tongue and groove board. Just a cool place to hang out. Got my jukebox, my TV, some other stuff. So nice place to hang out. Let me see. I think you're the only one here. I wish the video I did 2 days ago didn't get deleted because there were 52 good minutes of conversation we had, and it got deleted because of all the streaming and everything else. Yesterday too, I had almost an hour of good video, and the streaming just locked it up. So up here where I'm sitting tonight is about 10 feet from my router. So hopefully we won't get caught by the streaming bug. So we'll see what happens. Tonight's going to be basically talking about customers. I got some funny stories. Wait till a couple more people get here, but like I said, I don't do this for a living. It's just a hobby for me, make a few bucks on the side. I do it more for the fun of it. And basically, everything I make off this, I invest back in the business. I really don't take it and spend it frivolously. I buy tools. I like fixing things, and sometimes a job will come my way, and I'll spend $100 on tools to fix it, and I'll get paid $75 for the job. So that's not really economically feasible, but sometimes you do it for the love of it, I guess. But and plus, when you're doing it for friends and family as well as customers, sometimes your time is free. So anyhow, hopefully every time I work on something, I learn something. So we'll see. What do you work on, James? You working on anything right now? What do you got going? Anything interesting? I saw a video today. I was looking back on there. I'm having a problem with a McCulloch. I've got actually three of them that have been sitting on the shelf, and they're known for weak coils. And for some reason, people think these McCulloch coils are made of gold. And every time I see one, it's between $60 and $100. And I mean, the saw is worth probably 50. So I can't see spending that kind of money on a coil. So I have what I showed yesterday to everyone was the PET 4000 ignition tester. Mine's marked with Echo on it, but Opama is the brand. It's a Japanese brand. And, compound fracture. Sorry to hear it. Hope you feel better. Um, this Opama tester has a micrometer adjustment on it, so you can simulate different compression pressures. Usually, the rule of thumb is, I believe it's 10 psi equates every 10 psi it takes 1,000 volts to light a spark plug. So if you have a regular 150 psi combustion pressure in your compression test, it'll take 15,000 volts to light your plug. And by using a tester with this micrometer adjustment, you can actually adjust the gap. And they say 6 millimeter, roughly 6 millimeter, which is about 236,000, so a little under quarter inch. That simulates pressure of a spark plug inside a cylinder. People say, "Oh, I lay the spark plug on top of the head and I pull it." Well, you're testing it in atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure is only 14.7 psi. It's not 150 psi. They say, "Great, I got a spark." Then you put it back in the chamber. The compression will blow it out. You're not going to get a good spark. So I do recommend that people, whether you buy that type of tester, which is a little pricey, I think Brake sells one for 30 or $40, or you can even make your own. just pull the leads apart to about a quarter of an inch, and if it sparks a quarter of an inch, take the spark plug out, let it pull over easy, ground out one lead, put the other lead on the spark lead, pull the cord, and see if it sparks. If you get a good spark at a quarter inch, the coil's pretty good. But make sure it's a nice blue spark too. A white spark, orange spark, yellow spark, that's not the best. It has to be a nice crisp blue spark. And you can really hear it ticking when you're pulling on it. So I learned that a while back when I had a nice yellow spark coming out of a coil. And I said, ooh, a nice big yellow spark, but it wasn't enough. And a lot of people talk about these inline spark testers that you see at the flea markets for $2, $3, whatever. Hey, it'll tell you have spark. There's no doubt it will. It doesn't tell you how much and how good. So, I've had numerous people that come to me and say, the spark's working fine. I said, well, what'd you do? Oh, I got a spark tester. Show me. It's one of those inline ones you get at the flea market. Yeah, it's going to spark. So then I put on my tester and I go to open up the gap and I hit 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter, and at about 2.5 millimeter, it dies. I said, well, yeah, you have spark. It's just not strong enough. You're not going to bridge the gap under compression. So I buy a coil, I put it in, it runs. They think it's magic, but it's just science, physics. That's all it is. So I see someone else chimed in who's here. Welcome, whoever you are. And like I said, tonight I'm going to talk about customers. I've been doing this for about 19 years now. I'm going on 20, and I've seen all types. It started as friends and family and neighbors. People realized that I started fixing things. They saw me out in my driveway every day. I was always fixing something. And they'd walk by and say, hey, you fix weed whackers? Sure. You fix lawnmowers? Sure. I even had a guy come by, you fix table saws? I was like, yeah, sure. It was an electrical problem, so I fixed it for him. They call me Mr. Fix-It. That's been my nickname. Everybody calls me Mr. Fix-It. And I've been fixing stuff for years. But small engines just have a special spot in my heart because back in 2000, a friend of mine who has since passed away sold me his IH, International Harvester Cub Cadet. And it had a Kohler K-Series engine in it. And the engine needed rings and a valve job and all kinds of stuff. It had a lot of hours on it. It was probably 1968 to 2000, so it was 32 years old. And it was the first small engine I ever rebuilt. I used to do small block Chevys, big block Chevys, drag racing, things like that. But small engines, I was like, wow, doesn't take up a lot of space and fairly inexpensive, and it was pretty cool. It didn't need a lot of expensive tools either. So that was my foray into small engines, and since then it's blossomed. I just started really doing two strokes maybe 10 years ago. Didn't really like them. In fact, I didn't like them. I hated them, to be honest with you. But stupid little things that I learned over the years, especially from Rich, the chainsaw guy in Oregon. He said, always pull the muffler. And I actually have a video that tells that, always pull the muffler. Whenever you look at a two-stroke, here's a customer comes up to you. Yeah, I got a saw. I haven't run it in a couple of weeks. That's okay. How'd it run a couple of weeks ago? Oh, it ran good, but now I can't start it. Okay. So I said, mind if I take a look? And he brings it over, and I open up the gas tank. It smells like varnish. Well, he hasn't run it in a while because the gas has turned to varnish. So I said, let me pour some of this gas out. So I get a little Chinese food container or something, pour the gas in. And what pops out? The fuel filter and about 10 pieces of fuel line. I'm like, you sure you ran this thing 2 weeks ago? And the guy's looking at it, oh, yeah, well, okay. I know you didn't, but whatever, you're a customer. I have to respect you. So I'm going to say, okay, what do you want me to do? So then comes the decision. You got a saw. Usually they're Craftsman's or a cheaper model saw because people, most of them are cutting wood or twigs or, branches off. And I tell them, okay, here's a price. I'll put in a fuel line. I'll put in a fuel filter. I'll get it running for you. I'll flush out, put new gas in. What do you say? And a lot of times they'll say, yeah, okay. But sometimes I'll be honest with them and say, look, for what it's going to take me to fix this, including cleaning out the carb, the fuel line, the fuel filter, and so forth, it may cost, say, $55 with labor, okay? And I said, this saw right now currently at Sears is on sale for $89. So do you want me to fix what you have, this 30-year-old saw, or do you want to spend another $30 and go get a new one? So a lot of times that's how I inherit a lot of free stuff. They'll say, yeah, just keep it. Which is fine. I mean, what I'll do is I'll fix it up and either sell it to somebody cheap or give it away to someone who needs it. Those cheap Poulan Craftsman saws, I mean, they're nice little saws. They work fine. Doesn't, cost a lot to fix them up, but, I see a ton of them, especially the ones that are the gray color and the green color. They're just badged poulons. They're wood sharks and wild thing saws, those kind of things. Anyway, so you get those customers. You get another type of customer who knows more than you. I mean, he'll come up to you and he'll say, "Here's my piece of equipment. Okay, I need you to do this." I said, "Well, you need me to do this, or do you want me to do what it needs?" "What do you mean? I'm telling you what I want." It's okay. He says, "Okay, I want you to change the spark plug, change the air filter, and sharpen the blade." Okay. So I changed the air filter. I, fill it up with gas, put a spark plug in it. I sharpen the blade and roll it out in the driveway and say, "Here, come get it." So he comes over and he goes, "Oh, this runs like garbage." I go, "Well, I did what you told me to do. You didn't want to talk to me. You didn't want to listen to me. I did exactly what you wanted to do with respect for you." I said, "Okay, I'll conform to your wishes." "Well, I thought you'd make it run better." "Well, I tried to talk to you and you didn't want to talk to me." "Craig, how you doing, sir? I got a story for you. Give me a minute and I'm going to tell the story, which will make you feel good." Anyway, so this customer comes over and then he felt embarrassed, and he apologized to me. He says, "Look, I know." He goes, "I've been working on things my whole life and yada, yada, yada." And I was like, "You know what? I appreciate that. I have no problem. I appreciate you being a customer of mine. And I'll do whatever it takes to get your equipment running good. But you have to trust me that I'll get it running good. And, I'll always give an honest estimate of what it'll be and give you the option. And I don't charge for estimates. If I see something, I generally know what caused it. And it usually takes me 10, 15 minutes. And, in that time, it's a freebie. It's just customer service, value added. And if they don't want to do the repair, fine. All right, now the quick story for Craig Timmons. The other day, Craig, I feel for you the problem you had with the crankshaft. I got a story of something that was like a duh for me. I had a McCulloch, which are seemingly the bane of my existence, or these McCulloch saws that don't want to run. I think this was a 3216. Anyway, comes in, customer says, "Yeah, I ran it a few years ago," which turned out to be 6 years ago. And it had the typical fuel line was busted, fuel filter was sitting in the tank, carburetor screen was full of dust and sawdust and everything. So I took it all apart. I'm getting ready to put it back together. I go to try and run it, and it just didn't seem like it was running right. There were no vacuum leaks. It didn't seem to have vacuum leaks or anything like that, but it just doesn't seem to be running right. So I said, let me take out my Harbor Freight ultrasonic cleaner, and I'll clean the carburetor. It was a Walbro WT 194, I think, or something like that. Anyway, so I take the carb apart. And I said, "You know what? I'm going to be smart this time. Instead of just putting it in my ultrasonic cleaner with Simple Green and water like I normally do, or one of those concoctions, I'm going to use Berryman's carb cleaner. So I'm not only going to get the ultrasonic benefit, I'm going to get Berryman's. It's going to melt all that dirt out of there, and the carb's going to be like brand new." What I didn't realize, and stupid me, was instead of putting the cube carburetor in one of my nice stainless cages that go into the ultrasonic tank, I used the standard plastic cage that was sitting in the bottom of the ultrasonic tank, not even thinking. So I put the carb in, put the Berryman's in, two bottles, mind you. Okay, it wasn't cheap. 2 bottles of Berryman, that's expensive. So anyway, put the 2 bottles in, turn on, things cycling. Let me go upstairs and get a sandwich. So I come down and I look, and it's like a little skimming with the bubbles on top. You're like, "Ooh, that looks good." It looked a little white though. I'm like, what is that?" Well, what that ended up being, that white, was the tray that melted from the Berrymans, and now I had a vat of Elmer's glue and a cube carburetor. So not only did I ruin the $79 Harbor Freight ultrasonic, I ruined a cube carburetor, because when I took it out, it was like marshmallow fluff, like whoa, and I was like, perfect. And the minute I took it out of the solvent, it hardened immediately when it hit the air. So now I had a paperweight. So I'm thinking to myself, what the hell am I gonna do now? Now I owe this guy a carburetor, and you can't buy the 194. So I'm like, what do I do? Well, as luck would have it, I've got a bunch of McCullochs on the shelf for whatever reason, mostly because of coils, bad coils. And I'll talk about that with you later, Craig. Um, yeah, live and learn is right. I I took a carb out of another one. It wasn't a 194, it was a different model, but it was a model that was available on that same style and size of Mac engine, a 3.2. And I put it on, and it worked okay, but I thought it was probably coil again. And I discovered by using my PET 4000 spark tester that the coil was weak. What happened? I had started up, it ran great 5 or 10 minutes, throttled up, response was great. I set the idle, I set no leaks, I was tilting it all over, no air leaks or anything. But after about 5 to 10 minutes, it'd be like, din, 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 din. Like, the heck's that? So then you go to start it again, and you put on the regular cheapo flea market spark tester. Yeah, it's glowing, but when you put on the PET and you crank out the micrometer adjustment, it would cut off at about Tim. Hey, welcome, Tim. Good to see you. Crank it out, and about 2 millimeters, boom, no more spark. So we coil. Tim, I just told a story about how I forgot to take the plastic tray out of my my former ultrasonic degreaser, and I ended up putting barium and carb cleaner in a WT-194, and I ended up with a vat of Elmer's glue and a ruined cube carburetor. But as Craig said, live and learn. So anyhow, that was my story. I hope that makes you feel better, Craig. That was an expensive lesson for me, but you know what? I probably have 1,000 of those stories. Been talking about customers. Like I said, I've got some great ones. I got some real pains in the butt. And I had one customer a couple weeks ago. He dropped off a snowblower, and this is no lie. October of 17, an MTD, very expensive, probably $1,600 new. Uh, it was a 10 horsepower, 33-inch wide, humongous thrower, beautiful thrower, power steering, all the stuff on it, nice. He had a lot of issues with it because he had never maintained it or anything. So I said, okay, let me order the parts for you. And I'll be honest with you, half the parts that I ordered were on back order from Jax. Jax Small. I love Jax, use them all the time, but it's MTD. They were on back order. Now, I told you, October 7th of 17, I delivered this thing 2 weeks ago. Okay. Now, I gave him a snowblower to use during the past winter and a half, okay, that I just recently got back from him. But because MTD is not making some of these parts available, I ended up making these parts in my shop in the basement on my lathe and my miller, because I called up MTD. I said, guys, a year? Are you kidding me? And I saw someone comment one time about Jax as well. They'll take your order, they'll take your money, but then you'll get an email once a month saying estimated ship date, and every week it changes. And yeah, it was changing for a year. Stupid stuff, bushings and things like that. Finally, I said to myself, the guy had a unit I let him use, so he didn't care. He had something he could use. But I'm saying to myself, I got this massive, gargantuan thing taking up space in my garage. I want it out of here. So finally, I said, you know what? I'm just gonna make the same thing. Yeah, 4 months. I believe it, Craig. I wish it was 4 months. I mean, it's just tell me the truth. It's on back order. We have no intent on giving you a part ever. It's never coming. So be honest with me. Hey, you charged my credit card a year ago, a year and a half ago. You're taking advantage of my money. At least tell me I'm never going to get anything. So anyway, I hear about like Terrell uses Pro Parts Direct, and I think so does Donny Boy. I've used e-replacement parts, Repair Clinic. I've used them all. What I like to do, to be honest with you, I have a local dealer who does all the brands. You know, he does Toro and Steel and Echo and Kohler and stuff like that. I let him order stuff for me. He gets stuff for me in 2 to 3 days. Uh, I don't mind paying him a little bit, keeping the mom and pops in business, because honestly, the mom and pops are the ones that treat you right. You go to stores and stuff like that, they don't care. You know, they have 16-year-old kids assembling these machines, and half the time, and I'll give you a quick story. One of my videos that I put out showed where a guy had the drive disc cable so tight that after 6 months, it just wore out the drive disc. There was nothing left of it. And the guy's telling me, you know, oh, how did this happen? I said, well, did you notice when you pull down the handle for your traction, it takes about 20 pounds to push it down? Well, it should only take very light pressure, and you should maybe have a half inch of real spring tension that goes down. These kids putting them together at Home Depot, you know, they're working for minimum wage. They don't care how they go together. In fact, I don't think they even read the instructions. So at least when you go to a dealer, they're going to put it together right. You know, I have people buy units at Home Depot. They call me on the phone, Kenny, I'm buying this unit. Can you come pick it up and deliver it for me and adjust it for me the right way? You know, I charge them $25 and I do it in town. So no big deal. You know, this way you help someone out. You get a new customer, they'll go to you for service, and they know the thing is set up correctly. Um, a funny story about Home Depot, Lowe's, and those things. You talk about different customers. How many of you heard of the customer that sees the tag on the dipstick tube that says no oil? Okay. I have a customer call me up. Oh, I thought that meant no oil needed or no oil. We already filled it up. And I'm like, seriously? I said, you didn't check the dipstick? I said, you didn't read the manual? No, you had that nice electric starter. I hit it and it ran for about 10 seconds and then made a screech and stopped. And I was like, okay, new motor. And I do a lot of Predator conversions doing it that way. The only thing is with these Predators and these other engines now, if you have older Aarons and older Toros that have the dual shaft engines, you got to watch because that way you don't have reverse because you only have the one pulley. Oh, what other kind of customers I have? Let me see. Oh, let me give you the ultimate customer. The customers I love. You get a guy that says, I have something that's leaking oil, say a generator or mower or whatever. It's leaking oil. Okay. Pick it up, bring it home. I said, let it sit, clean it all off. I want to start fresh, clean it all off. Start it up, run it for 10, 15 minutes, nothing. Okay. Run it for an hour, nothing. Let it sit overnight. Go underneath, nothing. Okay. Go back in a day, nothing. Everything's running great, nothing. So then I come to find out a lot of the customers that have Honda engines don't realize that the dipsticks really don't mean anything on those Honda engines a lot of time. They just tell you basically keep the oil level with the end of the dipstick tube. As long as it's level, that's pretty much the level of the connecting rod dipper, and it works fine. But I had one guy who actually didn't seal off his dipstick. Let me see. Update schools a lot about. So yeah, proper way. You have to. I'm telling you, it's proper way to do everything. The dipsticks in those Hondas, easy to cross thread them. A lot of people I know cross thread them, so they're not on. And as the thing's running and shaking, the oil's dribbling out. And it just so happens a lot of times when they mount these Honda engines, the oil runs down that dipstick tube underneath the engine onto the gap between the mounting plate and the cross member, and laminar flow, the oil just hangs out there. Okay, and then over time, drip, 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 and they think they have massive oil leaks, and it's not. It's just you didn't have a sealed oil fill tube. So those are the customers that are nice because you really don't do anything. You feel bad about charging them, and I don't charge a lot. I mean, I'll charge a guy $20. If it's a guy in town, I'll charge him $25. I picked it up, I brought it back to his house. What did it cost me? $2 in gas and maybe 15, 20 minutes of my time. So no big deal. But I tell him what really happened. He knows I'm honest about it. He'll give me a call in the summer or spring, and I'll get some work out of it. So being honest, that's the biggest thing. I mean, don't you service these things? Don't try and screw people. There's times when a customer will come into my driveway, and his kill switch is off on its Honda engine. All right, he said it won't start, it won't start, it won't start. So I go over it, I hit the kill, I turn it on, starts fine. What'd you do? What'd you do? They think you're magic. Okay, well, you got a kill switch. Is that what that is? I didn't know what that was. I said, yeah, it's a kill switch. And one guy said to me, he goes, how much I owe you? I said, you know what? Go down the street, buy me a cup of coffee, bring it back to me. Dunkin' Donuts down the street. Buy me a coffee, come back. That's my job. He said, seriously? Seriously. He comes back with a dozen bagels, a couple of coffees. Yeah, you know what? For me, I spent, 30 seconds? I got coffee and bagels. That's okay. So things like that are fun. I had another guy, good customer of mine. I've probably worked on 10 different things of his. He's a Toro guy. He's got a Toro, I think it's a 524, which is weird. A 5 horsepower engine, 24-inch wide auger. Seems like it's a little bit of overkill on the auger. But anyway, I had fixed the engine. Yeah, can't be free food. I can even afford free food, Craig. Anyway, so the guy brings over 5 horse 24 Toro. I had fixed it for him. What happened was on the Tecumsehs and even on the Briggs, the elbow that goes into the carburetor, especially on snow machines and generators, is that plastic elbow that's molded onto a steel bushing, and that gets pressed into the carburetor inlet throat where the fuel goes in. That plastic cracks over time. It will just crack and it'll start dripping. You'll drip gas. He said he turned the fuel on because I did put a fuel shutoff on it. He turned the fuel on. I said, oh, it's dripping, it's dripping, it's dripping. And I said, okay, so bring it over. So he brings his trailer over. He parks the trailer in front of my house. And, I put a brick under the trailer and it's level and it's sitting there. So I step up on the trailer. I pull the cord. It starts great. No leaks. And he had already left. He left the trailer with me. He said, I got to go to work. I'll be back. It's okay. So I said, what's going on with this? So I take off the heater box off the Tecumseh engine, and no leaks. I don't say anything. And I look and I see the new elbow that I put on there. No leaks. And yeah, not good for my girlish figure, that's for sure. No, it's always locale. Always locale. That's what I tell myself. Um, yeah, as you can see, I'm not the smallest guy. Anyway, so about 20 minutes go by and I call him and I said, "Where was this fuel leakage from?" He says, "Oh, it was leaking out of where the carburetor was." What he had done, he went underneath there for some reason, playing with it. He hit the drain, the spring-loaded drain plug on the bottom of the old Tecumseh carburetors. He must have hit it with something, and it didn't seal immediately. So it must have went drip, 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 drip for maybe 30 seconds or whatever until the rubber washer inside the float bowl sealed. There must have been a piece of dirt underneath it or something. Well, it comes to my house, traveling on the road, the thing's vibrating like crazy. Obviously, the dirt worked its way out, or the washer inside the bowl sealed. No more leaks. So when he comes over, he was flabbergasted, and he's like, "What do I owe you?" And I'm like, "What do you get charged, guys? Give me $5." He's okay. So things like that. Like I said, I don't want to screw anybody. And you know what? He said to me, he goes, "You're honest. I'll come back." And he will. And he's been a customer of mine for probably 4 or 5 years. So some of these customers I have, you may not see these people for 3 or 4 years, 5 years. I had one guy, he comes to me, "Hey, Ken, Joe Blow. Hey, Joe Blow, how you doing? Whatever. Yeah, yeah, how you doing?" Blah, blah. He's talking to me like he's my best friend. And I'm looking back in my records. I hadn't seen this guy in like 7 years. And he's talking to me like, he grew up with me. And I'm like, "What's up?" And I have decent records or a decent memory too of what I work on for people. And I knew he had a Toro personal pace mower. I said, "Oh, how's your personal pacing?" "Oh, that's why I'm calling you. I'm having some problems with it. I wonder if I could drop it off." "Yeah, okay, drop it off." Well, the funny thing is, I don't know how you guys have dealt with different people that try and service their own stuff, but I'm really amazed. Let me see. At 300. I'm telling you, I'm not 300, but I'm catching up. I'm hopefully not going to be there, but I am catching up. Anyway, um, put it this way, I'm at, say, an eighth of a ton. How's that? Um, People that take, especially on the Briggs Quantum engines, you got the cheap filter, the 49108, or whatever they call that filter, that square blue and white filter. This guy, every year, washed his filter in soap and water. Okay? Washed it in soap and water like it was a dish or something. And I said to him, I said, what do you got there? BS. I saw your thing, BS. I saw some of your videos. Decided to put a new battery and miss. Yeah, I've been there. Tell me about it. Anyway, so he says it's not starting or it's running rough, whatever. So I look at the plug, of course, before I even looked at the air filter, I pull out the plug. The plug is black, totally rich black. Wouldn't get any air, okay? So the 5/16, screw in the air cleaner or a flathead screwdriver. Take it off the filter. I look at it, I go, "What the hell happened to this?" I said, "When was the last time you replaced this?" "Oh, you replaced it last year." No. He goes, "Yeah, yeah, I came here last year." And I said, "Hold on." So I took out my laptop and I said, "No, you were here 7 years ago." "Has it been that long?" Yeah. "Oh, well, whatever. Last year, 7 years, whatever." "Whatever? Have you even changed the oil in 7 years or anything like that?" "Well, no, you worked on it last." So I'm like, "Oh, is there any oil in it?" There was oil in it, but I tell you, molasses was thinner. Okay, so anyway, got a little job out of it. The blade was total trash. I said to him, it had a mulching blade in it that looked like he had taken a grinding wheel and cut a bunch of V's in it. This thing, I said, "Do you have stones in your yard?" "How do you know?" I said, "Well, because your blade is destroyed." So I think the blade was $15. I bought him a blade, plug, whatever. But you know what? I said to him, "You know what? I'll see you in 7 years, Joe." "Oh, no, no, no. I'm going to call you next year." "All right. See you in 7 years." So anyway, that's those kind of customers. Yeah, they're fun people, fun to talk to. But washing a paper air filter, I see a K&N filter. You wash the gauze and you oil it, great. But a $4 or $5 Briggs and Stratton paper filter, and you're so cheap that you wash it with soap and water. I don't get that. All right, what other kind of customers you get? Well, like I said at the beginning, those that weren't here, I love the customers that will tell you that they ran the saw or the whatever it is. "Oh yeah, I ran it yesterday." If you ran it yesterday, then how come there's varnish in the gas tank, your fuel line's in 10 pieces, and your fuel filter's floating on the bottom of the tank? But it ran. Okay, show me. Well, it's not running now. That's why I brought it to you. So, I don't want to embarrass them, but what are you going to do? They want blades sharpened as they wore down and get mad when you won't sharpen them. Well, you know what it is? You have that rule of thumb with blade sharpening where if the width of the blade is, say, 3 inch, they say don't go more than 1/3 with the sharpening. So, whatever the angle is formed, you just want to make sure that you don't go more than 1/3 of the width when you sharpen it. But my problem is when I see people with blades that have such big gouges in them that I'll have to take off. I mean, I'll wreck a grinding or flapper wheel or a grinding wheel just taking it down. So let's see. Some come in bent wanting. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But you know, I usually stock some blades, and if I know a customer's coming, I'll look up his information. And if I don't have a blade and the blade's $10 or $12 or something, I'll pick one up just in case. Because most of the time, for that kind of money, they're not going to say no. But I know a lot of with the customers, I'll put in the comments section of my spreadsheet, nut job cuts rocks and twigs in the fall with his mower, doesn't change the blade, that kind of thing. So I try and keep a good dossier so I know how to react with them. Um, I had one guy, I'll never forget, he lives in town where we are, and I guarantee you his neighborhood was $1 million homes. This guy, they come in, I, they come into my driveway in an $80,000 Mercedes or BMW. They open up the trunk and take out this grease laden, unbelievably looking piece of garbage push mower that sometimes doesn't even have self propel. And you're like, you're driving around in something that costs half the price of my house, and you're bringing me this push mower that you bought, it looks like at a consignment store, and you want me to fix it. And I'm saying to myself, this guy can pay someone to do his lawn. But I tell you, and these are the guys, they get pissy with you. They get pissy with you. And I'm saying to myself, I drive on the highway when I go to work in the morning on the parkway, and it's like the idiots that you see blowing by you are always the ones in the $1 million cars. They figure they own the road and they own you. And it's like, it's the same way with power equipment. They figure they drive up in a $100,000 car, they could tell you what to do, and you don't want to be nasty about it. But, when someone comes to your home, don't disrespect me. You're coming to me because you value my honesty and my skill, and you want me to help you out. But then you walk into my driveway like you own me. No, 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 no. That's not going to work. So sometimes I'll shut them down, but I'm polite. I don't want to ruin a possible relationship. You don't want to piss off a potential customer because it could be some revenue for you. So anyway, this guy comes in, totally grease laden. What it was the seal underneath the flywheel was blown. So he was pumping out oil all over the place. The oil had dripped down through the drain holes in the deck surface of the mower deck, and over time the grass and everything pushed up under the deck, and it was all full of oil laden grease and everything else, and just nasty, nasty, nasty. So I said to him, "What would you like me to do?" So he says, "Well, I think there's an oil leak." Very astute. I said, "Okay, you must have went to Harvard." So anyway, I said, "So I didn't say that. I said it in my mind. I'm not going to piss off a customer." Anyway, so I said, "Look, it's probably a seal underneath. I can fix it." Gave him a price. Who say, "Well, so this and that." I know, I know. But you know what you say? Those two magic words, cha-ching. Those are my favorite two words. Anyway, so this guy, he started realizing he better not be a jerk to me. So I said, realistically, I said, look, before I do anything, I'll tell you exactly what it needs. I'll tell you what it's going to cost. I don't charge for estimates, and if you want to go for it, then whatever. So I called him up. He said, "Yeah, go for it." So about an hour or two later, I said, "I'm done." I said, "Why don't you come get it?" He says, "Okay, I'll come get it." So he comes and gets it. I start it for him. I show him how it starts. I said, "Okay, you start it now." Starts it, sees how it's nice and clean, and no smoke and that. I get a phone call a year and a half later. Okay, because I keep track of these things. Year and a half later, I get a phone call. "Yeah, I think you may have done something with the starter because when I turned the engine off, when I released the bail, he didn't know it was called a bail, but when you release the bail, it takes a couple extra seconds for the engine to wind down." And I'm saying to myself, I said, "Dude, you do realize I fixed that thing a year and a half ago?" "No, no, no, you just fixed it over the summer." "Yeah, the summer a year ago." "Oh, really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, really." I said, "Look, I'll be glad to look at it." But he accused me of messing with his starter somehow, his recoil, and it wasn't shutting off the way, the brake underneath, the brake pad. So anyway, he brought it by. I looked at it. The brake pad itself just wore out, so that when he released the bale, it wouldn't stop as fast as it used to. Well, the mower's 14 years old. It's not going to brake the way it did 14 years ago. So sometimes you have to dumb yourself down as a technician and talk to these people like they're fourth graders, and just try and reason with them. But like I said, you can't disrespect them. They're customers, they're people too. But sometimes people, what was the old TV show? Kids say the darndest thing, Art Linkletter years ago. Well, customers say the darndest things. And sometimes, it just makes me want to laugh. Anywho, let me take a quick water break here. I'm getting a little parched. Anyhow, um, what do we got, Mr. 10? We had customers turn on Phil song, it followed Spark. Absolutely. How you charge more around compression? Yeah, tell me about it. You know, I usually buy those filters, especially on the Quantums. I'll buy them like in a 20 pack or something. So it costs you like $2 a filter by the time you're all said and done. But you say to yourself, when you get a guy who's trying to clean a filter, or he'll spray brake clean on it, makes it worse because then it can't breathe. And then he calls you up and he goes, "Oh, I just picked up my mower from you and now it's not running right." And I had one customer wanted me to go to his house. He was in town, but probably 6, 8 miles away. He wanted me to drive to his house to personally fix his mower that he said I broke on him. Okay. And I'm saying to myself, what is this guy doing? Well, what he did was, I did drive over there because he was a new customer and it was a beautiful area. I said, "Oh, I get some business, maybe his neighbors." So I drive over, and what it was his engine. He was the choke for it was working okay when I worked on it, but something happened. It was a Honda with the wax choke, with those the old wax style chokes where the wax melts and sucks in the rod and all that stuff. Anyway, the problem with that choke, so it wasn't starting right. So Hondas have a problem with their auto chokes anyway. So he ended up taking starting fluid and would use starting fluid to start it. Well, he had so much starting fluid, he saturated the filter with starting fluid and literally choked the engine off. It just wouldn't start. It was so saturated with fluid. Okay. So when I came over, I smelled ether. It smelled like like a hospital. I'm like, what does this ether smell, right? And I said, "You got starter fluid or something?" He goes, "Yeah, I've had to use that to start it." So I take out the filter. It's like dripping. I says, "Whoa, how much are you using?" And I looked in his garage. He had like 4 or 5 cans on the wall. I said, "Hold on." And I always have one of those filters in my toolbox. So I pulled one out. The Honda filter and the Briggs filter, they fit the same. So I put one of those in. Boom, he was fine. But I said to him, I said, "Look, your choke really needs to be changed, the element in there." I said, "Let me change it, drop it off, yada, yada, yada." So, but just, they accuse you as a technician of screwing up their equipment when in reality, they're causing the problem. Let's see. Head gaskets out on tractors used. Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, ether, I don't know. I'm a fan for some things. I mean, you go to Wally World and they have that starting fluid with top end lubricant, which means they put a little shot of oil in there. But you know what? Ether still washes down the cylinder walls like gasoline, and you're gonna run dry and you're gonna blow things up. So, and like you said, then with the ether, a violent explosion, especially on the diesels. Look what happens when you use them on the diesels too. Man, you're banging out the pressure. So blowing a head gasket with ether. Yeah, yeah, WD-40. I don't, what? I've never really used it for starting things. Matty O's got to have them as a sponsor because he loves that stuff. I mean, Matty uses it for lubricant. He uses it for starting fluid. He uses it for furniture polish, whatever. I mean, Matty loves WD-40. So, I mean, he should definitely have them as a sponsor. Um, I didn't know how flammable the WD was, and I didn't know if squeeze bottle with mix. Yeah, I mean, Musty. I don't know if you guys ever see Musty one. Musty's got a lot of good videos. He uses that oil that you use for like bearings and things. It's got that thin tube that pulls out of it. Those are really handy to squirt carburetors and things. Help seal the rings on worn out engines. Yeah. Well, you know what I do, Craig? When I have someone come by with a chainsaw that I know the rings are worn, I put a little bit of two-stroke oil in the cylinder, take the spark plug out, and boom, it pops. So I said to the guy, "Look, there you go. I just increased your compression by putting a little bit of oil in the cylinder. It proves that you need rings." And they still don't buy it. They think you're trying to sell them a bunch of useless parts. But I just love how people buy a cheap piece of equipment at a box store, don't take care of it, and then when it needs to get fixed, they're challenging you as to your diagnosis and what you think it is. So I don't know. Maybe they know more than we do. I don't know. Who knows? Four people here. Who else is here? Welcome, whoever you are. Um, I want to send a shout out to Small Engine Nation. I didn't know much about it or what it was. I'm not the biggest computer guy when it comes to social media. I didn't know anything about that Google Hangouts. Someone suggested you go to, my daughter actually said, "Oh, you got to go to Google Hangouts and type it in." And I tell you, it's a group of guys and gals that are really into small engines. They want to help YouTubers get started by becoming subscribers and things and getting the likes and everything up. And so a shout out to you guys and gals, YouTube Nation. Yeah, I'm at about 48 right now because I just really started. And but thanks go out to the Small Engine Nation, and I'm in the Google Hangout now as Ken's Small Engine. So if you shout me out, hopefully I have the app on my phone and I can shout you back. My daughter's trying to teach me about it. I guess you can do phone conversations and chats and stuff like that. So I look forward to talking with you a lot, guys. Ironically, most of them in that are from England or Australia. It's funny because a lot of them, texted me and sent me emails saying, "Oh, hey mate, what's going on?" And it's like, oh, it seemed like everyone was from either over the pond or down under. So interesting. A lot of great guys though. I've been watching some of the videos, Jacko and some of the other guys. I watched some of your videos when I got home tonight. Craig, ironically, I watched the video when I was searching out the weak coils for the PET 400, where the guy actually showed, I think it was 65 Ford, where he showed that Mac saw where he used a PET. And there was another one, I think, and it was so funny, the comment was from you, and it was a week ago, and I said, oh, how ironic, I saw a video that I'm interested in, and Craig commented on it a week ago, so that was kind of funny. Um, Let me see, what else? Customers. Well, let's talk about friends and family. As the husband of an Italian woman, um, you get the guilt complex where when they come over, you have to fix their stuff. So, they show up with the snow blower, the weed whacker, whatever. They don't ask you. They just come by with the Cadillac, throw it in the driveway, and say, pick it up in an hour. You get a guy happen. Uncles, you're not cutting level. Tell me about it. I have one guy now that what just a quick story. I went over to his house because he needed two front tires. His front tires were towed in so bad that there were beads showing. The tire, the cords were showing in the tires. So I took the tires, and everybody knows, front tires, like a 16, 6.5, 8 tire, they're not cheap. To get them mounted and balanced, I take them to my dealer. He's got the machine and everything. He charges $100. You got two tires mounted and balanced out the door. It's $100. Not cheap, but it's something that has to get done. So anyway, go over his house, put him on. I adjusted the toe in, so it was right. And he goes, "Well, let me test it." Test what? "Oh, test that it's good." "Oh, really? It's not showing buffering on my screen." "Oh, that stinks. Let me know when it comes back because I'm sitting right next to the router." Um, am I back? Somebody tell me I'm back and not buffering. Okay, cool. Anyway, so he says, "I got to try it." And I said, "All right." So he's got a beautiful lawn. So he goes to his lawn. He's going around, going around, going around. And then he wants me to change the blades. And I says, "Well, I got to get blades." "Doug, welcome." "Oh, doing good, doing good." Um, he had already bought blades. I said, "Okay, I'll put them out for you." I had my Milwaukee half-inch impact, which I love, by the way. So I put it up on the back of my pickup on two ramps. I drive it up. I get underneath there, and I'm taking off the nuts. And I look, and I see daylight. I'm like, what the heck is that? The hanger, one of the hangers on what I'm calling the right side of the tractor where the lift arm is, rotted where the weld was and pulled away from the deck. So there was a 1/4 inch airspace in a gap, just air. Well, that made his deck cocked at about maybe an inch. So there was no way the deck was going to be level. So then I walk in his front yard, and the reason he wanted to test it out, not because of the tires, was because he had a crappy looking pattern in his lawn and didn't want me to check that out. So I said to him, I said, "You do realize you have a hole in your deck." The only way I saw the hole was because I blew off the deck. I always keep an air compressor in my truck, a small air compressor in a tank. I blew it off. There was grass when he cut. The grass blew into the hole that was there and shut and was sticking out of it. He goes, "Oh, that just happened." I look at him, I say, "Excuse me." So I bring him down there. I pull the grass out that was stuck in there, and you can see the rust around the hole where the weld was. I said, "You've had this for a while." So then, of course, he realizes he screwed up, and he goes, "Whoa, can you fix it?" I was like, "I can fix it, but at this time, this was the end of October, beginning of November. Okay." And I said to him, "Look, it's leaf season, it's twig season. Are you going to use, I said, you want me to change these blades? I'll change them out. Or do you want me to put the old blades back on? You could run the crap out of it, shred your leaves and your twigs and ruin these blades or, dull them up or whatever. And then come spring, I'll take the deck, I'll weld it, and I'll put on the new blades." No, 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 I want the new blades on now. He actually had me put new blades on a deck that wasn't level and then insisted I take the thing home and fix it. I said, "No." I said, "I'm too busy. I got leaf blowers to do. I got all kinds of stuff to do. It's leaf season. I don't have time to take your deck off, take it home, and weld it." So he got pissy with me. And I said to him, I said, "Look, I appreciate your business. I want you as a customer. At this time, I can't do it." I said, "Call me in the spring." "I can't wait till spring." I said, "Well, go to the dealer, pay $100 an hour, and they'll give it to you in about a month. Okay? Or you could wait for me and I'll do it for you for $30 and you'll be done." Haven't heard from him. We'll see what happens, but I don't know. I mean, some guys get upset. Anyhow, I was talking about family. Like I said, I married into a big. What do we got here? New subscriber, Andy. Welcome. Shop two, four shop. Mostly work on two strokes. Nope, not full time at all. I started life. I went to school for mechanical engineering. I also went to school for management and business. I've got an associate degree in mechanical engineering. I've got a bachelor's degree in management that I got at age 50. And I have an MBA, which I got at age 53 a couple of years ago. So I believe in education. I believe in keeping up with, stuff and keeping smart. So I wanted to prove to my kids that doesn't matter how old you are, you could still be educated, and it really matters. And now, where I work, I could basically apply for any job there because with the education and 36 years experience in manufacturing, I could basically do any job they have there. So it was sort of investing in my future. The reason I do small engines, my wife got laid off years ago. One time when we had two small kids and we had actually a brand new baby, and I needed a way to make some extra money. So it was something I was doing just for fun, and I said, "Hey, why not see if anyone else wants the service?" So I called out to friends and family. They told their friends, and it blossomed. And now I probably 20 years later have 500 plus customers. Like I said, I won't see a customer maybe every couple of years, 2, 3 years. Some of them religious. I'll see them 3 or 4 times a year. Some of them I'll see once every 5 years, just when the equipment bombs out. But it doesn't matter. Like I said, I'm not doing it. I'm not going hungry because if I don't do it, I have a roof over my head. My house is paid for. I mean, hey, I don't worry about small engines being part of me keeping a roof over my head or anything like that. So I do it to have some fun and make friends, and I just do it because I'm a mechanical guy. I love fixing things. The work I do at work is I'm in charge of a group of guys in that. The commercial, let me see, commercial guys, 2 or 3 times a week. Oh, commercial people. I don't have any commercial customers yet, only because they tend to want to go to the dealers because the dealers stock everything they need. Make tracks, welcome. Anyway, so like I said, I've been doing it about 19, 20 years. Do it for the fun of it. I mean, I do make some money off of it. I don't charge a lot. I charge a lot less than dealers charge. Mostly it's friends, family, and referrals. I don't advertise. Some people have thrown me on Yelp and other things like that. But one thing I do for people is some pro bono work, especially for people that are sick. My oldest daughter was diagnosed with cancer when she was in high school years ago, and thankfully, God willing, she did make it through, and she's healthy now. And I feel like I want to give back. So when I meet people that are hard times, or they're sick, or they have a child or a parent who's sick, I'll do some pro bono work. I mean, to me, that's giving back. It makes me feel good, and I recommend to anyone that does small engine work, if you could do some pro bono work to help the community or help someone in need, it's the best feeling in the world, and I do recommend doing it. Um, Okay, let's get back to to customers. Who, let me see, relatives. Like I said, my wife, big Italian family, this and that. I don't mind doing it. I help out. I've helped out the brothers, the sisters, the aunts, the uncles, all that stuff. Um, they get to a point, most families, they get to a point where when people get older, they'd rather just pay someone to do something. Like a lot of them will, pay to have the lawn done or pay to have the driveway done or something like that. So not as much as, it used to be when I was younger. Hey, I've been married almost 30 years. So, the family, make tracks. Make tracks, take care. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Um, when families get older, like I said, they tend to farm stuff out, and they don't want to bother other family members and things like that. So, I'm in my mid 50s right now. My kids are adults. One of them's a teacher. The other one's still trying to figure out what she wants to do. But we're happy family, and I do my small engine hobby, and they have their little hobbies they're gonna do. My oldest is engaged, so I'm waiting for her to get married, and just passing time, working. I got another 10 years before I can retire, and small engines are just a big part of my life right now. I enjoy it. I do. I like fixing things. I really do. It's I never forget every time I rebuild an engine, that first turn of the key when it starts up. Man, what a rush! I mean, that is the best adrenaline rush in the world. Something that was in 50, 100 pieces an hour ago, and now it's going vroom vroom, and cutting someone's grass. I mean, it's just nothing like it. Um, you talk about people with small engines. I've delved into things like go karts and some of those Chinese clone of the Honda. I think it's the Honda 90 that they had years ago. Let's see, like yeah, kit saws, things like that. Um, the kit saws, I haven't really tried any of them yet. I have about 12 saws right now between Steels, Echoes, Husqvarnas, and I've got a couple of Poulons, McCullochs, Home Lights, but 12 runners that I could run at any time. I don't have a lot of wood on my property. I just like fixing them, and I like playing with them. So I had the privilege to meet Matty Olson. I went up his house one day, and he let me use some of his saws, and I tell you, I got hooked. I mean, some of his saws, especially his as-is saw, oh my gosh, it tried to pull right out of my hands. I'm a big guy. This thing, it was only what was it, 350 or 394, whatever it was, well, or no, I think it's 372. But it literally wanted to pull right out of my hands, and I was like, "What'd you do to this thing?" And he's telling me some of the stuff, and I said, "Let me check out some of your videos." So I check out Matty's videos, and Walt A Fleet Command, fantastic videos, and some of those guys. Bob at Walt's dealer that he goes to, I look at some of his videos. There's a lot of information on YouTube. I mean, I'm amazed all the stuff. I mean, anything you want to learn out there, it's on YouTube. It's amazing. I mean, growing up, I'm 55 years old. When I grew up, you wanted to learn something, you went to the library and you got an encyclopedia, you know, and or you got a book. Now you type keys. I keep telling my kids, you don't know. I mean, you're like the Jetsons compared to when I was growing up. With all the electronics you have and things like that. We actually went out and played cops and robbers. We didn't have VCRs and more than 3 or 4 channels on the TV, stuff like that. I mean, now I get mad when I'm flicking through 150 channels. I can't find anything. I remember growing up, you had 5 channels, and then you had UHF with the rabbit ears. I mean, I don't know. Times were better because we didn't realize what we were missing because it didn't exist. But we had a great time. We just enjoyed, each other, and going out and playing, riding bikes and playing in the dirt. Um, anyway, it shows 4 people here. Who else is here? Is Craig still here? Tim still here? Um, I was hoping that by being on at this time, I wouldn't tie in with Matty trying to do one of his videos. Have you tried the ultrasound cleaner? Oh yeah, I had a funny story I told Craig and Tim and those guys before, where I actually destroyed my Harbor Freight ultrasonic cleaner by leaving the plastic train and using carb cleaner. I turned it into Elmer's glue soup. Uh, Funny story, but expensive. I bought one of those stainless steel ones. Bruce Pender, I frequent his videos a lot. I like Bruce up in Canada there. And him and Musty One, he's got some great videos too. They have the stainless steel ultrasonic tank that you see advertised on Amazon a lot. It comes in all different sizes. The one I had was the Harbor Freight one, which was fairly small, maybe a half a gallon. What I did was I bought the one that's 9 liter, which is about 2.5 gallon. It's pricey, it's not cheap, it's about 350 bucks. But I'll be honest, I can do full carburetors. I do some work on Harley Davidson engines as well. So I could put a full S&S E carburetor in it and blast it. So I didn't mind spending the extra money to get the size I needed, the 9 liter. They sell smaller ones for 100 bucks, 150 bucks, but I figured let me spend the money. And Matty Olson even said his is, I think, a 9 liter, and it'll take full flywheels and things like that. I wanted to have the ability to have the space to do it. Like I said, I'm not telling someone to spend that kind of money, but since work on it all the time, it was worth the investment. And like I said before in my videos here, I reinvest in myself and my business, my hobby, I should say. What does the IRS say? If you make money, it's a business. If you lose money, it's a hobby. So I guess it's a hobby for me. Anyway, if I make 100 bucks, I'll spend it on tools. I could never have enough tools. I can never have enough gadgets, and that's what it is. Yeah, you can decarbon. It's just that some of the liquids that they sell get expensive. I've seen some of these companies sell concentrated liquids that you mix with water for the ultrasonics. But one guy, it was like $44 a gallon. And if you look at the mix, I think it was 2 ounces a gallon or something. It just it seemed like a lot of money to spend for different degreasers. There's a kid on YouTube, MC Repair, like motorcycle carb repair or something like that. Um, Simple Green Distill. Yeah, that's what I've been using. Simple Green Distilled Water. I've been using that forever. But it just so happened when I ruined that other one, I said I'm going to be real tough about it and use Berryman, and it's going to blast that carburetor. Yeah, it blasted it all right, but it also ate through a plastic tray when I actually had a stainless steel tray. I was just stupid. I forgot to use it. So my mistake, my bad. But you know what? Honest mistake, expensive mistake. I won't make it again. And another thing I use with the ultrasonics, I buy those tea bag wire mesh holders where you hold tea bags in. Those are great for jets and small parts. They won't get lost in your ultrasonic. So I like to use those too. Um, okay, let me see. Any other questions on customers? I'm trying to think. Got the good ones, the bad ones, the ugly ones. Oh, I've noticed that the ones that don't seem to have any money tip the best. I don't know why it is. Maybe they feel that, they'd like to, if it was they were in my shoes, they'd like to get tipped or whatever. And sometimes I'll refuse. I'll say no, don't, no, thank you. I charge what I need to charge, and that's enough. I had one lady. I know she didn't have a lot of money. I think the parts cost me $10. It cost me a half hour of my time. I think I charged her $25. She gives me like a $50 bill. I said, "What, you kidding me?" I said, "No, come on, you serious?" And then she's like, "Oh, I don't have anything else." So I said, "Okay." So I gave her the change. I said, "Here, keep your change." I said, "It just makes me feel bad. You have to charge more." Yeah, yeah, I know. But you know what? I'll be honest with you. I get nervous sometimes because people say, "Oh, you're doing it under the table and you don't have a license and this and that, whatever." And I had one guy say to me one time, basically, "I'm going to report you to the IRS, this and that." I said, "Look, dude, I charged you like 30 bucks an hour to help you out with something. Go to the dealer for 100 bucks an hour, wait 4 weeks." I said, "You want me to report to the IRS? Okay, give me another check for 20 bucks. I'll mail it into Uncle Sam. We'll call it even." You know, I mean, I have all my receipts for everything I buy. If Uncle Sam wants to yell at me, I'll show him that I'm spending more than I'm making. So if they want to audit me, God bless them. So, like I said, I do it for the love of it, do it for the fun of it, not getting rich doing it. And everyone always tells me, "You don't charge enough, you don't charge enough." But you know what? Everybody comes back. It's consistent. Ones that don't pay. I'll be honest with you. I don't think I've ever had a customer not pay. I've had customers pay late. I've had customers where I've had to hound them to get paid. I'll give you a quick story. There was a guy, a very good friend of mine that I know, that he had a couple pieces of equipment he wanted me to work on. And I looked at them, and I'll be honest, it looked like he got it from the junkyard. They were old, they just not worth fixing. Lawnmower shop. Oh, yeah, I wish I grew up in a lawnmower shop. Um, he brought the pieces of equipment over. I looked at them. I probably spent a half hour looking at them, decided what they would need if he needed them. And one of them was missing a carburetor and stuff like that. And I said to him, "Look," I said, "I don't think it's going to be worth the money Let's see, 90 days and a legal notice on the paper. Yeah, yeah, I know. My mother's in that situation now with someone who she paid money to and didn't do any work. So six of one, half dozen the other. On the other hand, too. Um, so anyway, good friend of mine. I said to him, "Look, I'll take the stuff to the dump for you. It's so old, it's not worth anything." I said, "Just give me $10 for my time. All was a quick run to the dump. Pay for gas and cup of coffee, whatever." Took me 3 months to get $10. And the only reason I got it was someone who I had mentioned this to called him up one day and shamed him and said, "Are you kidding me? You screwed Kenny out of $10 all the times he helps you." So he felt bad. Here's what's ironic. He felt bad. He comes to me. He says, "Oh, I owe you that $10, whatever, this and that. But I'm a little short right now, so I'll catch up with you." And I look at him. I go, checks in the mail. 3 weeks later, he gives me a $10. I don't know. And this is a guy probably makes $150,000 a year, But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But it's funny. But one thing and another thing, talking about money and customers, I like bartering. I would if this whole world was barter. I mean, we barter every day. We in our jobs. We provide a service to an employer. An employer barters with us, but they're just bartering with cash. Okay, but I would love to be able to say, uh, you know, I'm gonna here. I'll fix your lawnmower. You give me dinner for a week, or I fix your mower. You take my trash out, or something like that. Bartering is great because I'll be honest with you, money, especially when among friends, ruins friendships. It really does. Let's see. We had metal dash. Yeah, we had metal dash. Yeah, we had a lot of metal in cars. I don't even know if there's any metal in cars anymore. Um, but like I said, bartering. I had a friend of mine who was in the cabinet business, and I think I fixed an engine for him or something, and he made a custom cabinet for me to go over my refrigerator. So things like that. I mean, I love that. There's no money exchange. There's no hard feelings on anything. You do a service, he does a service, and what's great is he's not losing money because the service that he's providing, he's good at. That's what he does. And the service you're providing, you're good at it. So you're not losing anything either. You're helping each other out. So, hey, more power to you? Oh, let's see. Oh, God, it's been an hour already. Anything anyone else wants to talk about? I see there's more people here. Any small engine questions or questions about my business or my hobby, if you will, or me, or anything you want to talk about? I'd be glad to do it. What do we got? Anybody? Nobody? Craig? Tim? Nobody? I hope Maddie doesn't have a video and you guys are going over there and shutting me off. I actually put a message in a video this morning to Walt at A Fleet Command, and I asked him, just here for the ride. There you go, Craig. I asked Walt if he's planning on doing any get-togethers, because Walt, from me, is I believe about a 2.5 hour ride. It's not that far from me. I think it's a little further for Maddie because he's almost an hour north of me. But for me, it's about a 2.5 hour ride west to meet up with where they do that. Cutting Edge is the saw place, I believe it is, in New York. They're a huge Dolmar dealer. I'd love to head up there one day just to check things out. I'm in southwestern Connecticut in a town called Trumbull, which is right next to Bridgeport, Connecticut. Our claim to fame is the 1989 Little League World Champions. So that's basically the claim for Trumbull. And out of that Little League team was a hockey player named Chris Drury. So that's the popularity of our town. Just checking out the neighborhood. There you go. Welcome, Jimmy. Um, like I said, another shout out to Small Engine Nation. Thank you guys for the support. Thanks for all the likes and the subscriptions. It really means something to me, and I'm hoping I can increase in number and I can start putting out some videos that you guys want to see. The live thing for the past few days has been convenient for me. I don't have to edit, so it's a decent zip. I haven't used a zip, Tim. I gotta try that out because I see it at Home Depot all the time. Yeah, what is it with water? Is it like half and half? Uh, Spent the winter where in my town? Anyway, what was I talking about? I don't even know anymore. yeah, like I said, Trumbull, I'm over here. I'm not that far from going up there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I hope you liked it. I mean, the taxes are expensive and the houses are way overpriced. But other than that, I grew up here next to. Welcome. Um, it's a nice place. It's a safe place. I mean, when I was growing up. All right, you guys still there? I'm back. I think I'm back. Everybody still there? I had to run over to a plug. That happened today. Still here. Cool. All right. BS. I saw some of your videos today too. I was watching. I think you're part of Small Engine Nation too, like the other guys. Like I said, shout out to Small Engine Nation. Appreciate the support, guys. I didn't realize how big you guys were. I mean, you guys are all over the place. So, good to be a member. To Mr. Faust, absolutely. And who was the guy? What is his name? Dan or Dennis or something? There's another guy. He's always on. I see his name all the time. I'm trying to think of who he is. He signed on to all my videos. Let's see. Oh, hold on. There we go. All right. All right, guys. It's been over an hour. I think I'm gonna hit it. I gotta go have my dinner. It's after 9. I haven't even had dinner yet. I appreciate everybody showing up. Subscribe, hit like if you can. Um, I really appreciate it. And, if I could do another one again tomorrow, I'll do it. If anyone has any suggestions, you can email me at kensmallengines@aol.com. Any suggestions about a video? I'm thinking about hooking up that PET 4000 spark tester tomorrow again to show you guys what I meant on that McCulloch saw, so I could show you the difference between the coils. So maybe we'll do that in tomorrow's video. Again, thanks everyone. That's it for me for tonight. Have a